Hello, welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us on the web at babyboomertales.com. There are links to all the places that you can download our podcast. Plus there's a podcast page where all of our podcasts are located. We try to make it simple for you. It really is pretty simple. We're also on Facebook at Baby Boomer Tales. Please share our podcast with someone. We'd appreciate that. And the reason I ask that are baby boomers or 55-year-olds and older. Their demographic is the smallest percentage of podcast listeners on earth. So we have tried to make it very, very simple to get to our podcast. You know, our generation changed the world. We're the ones that actually invented cool. We're the ones that definitely coined the phrase hip. We're the ones that are with it in every way, reaching people in a positive way, helping those who are in need, making a difference to those that are around us. And so I think that we are the generation that propelled the world into the 21st century. So if you're a baby boomer or you're somebody's grandchild, doesn't matter. You are important to me, and I appreciate you listening. We should be having some fun. Let's have some fun. What do you say? Today I want to talk about experiencing winter when I was a kid. Winter in the mountains where I grew up is very long and it gets very, very cold. People there kind of kid that there's 3 seasons, winter, summer, and mud. So this time of year when I'm looking outside, I'm seeing my trees leaf out and the flowers blooming here in the Midwest. Folks back up in the mountains are just now starting to experience mud. Maybe not this year. There's a lot of winter. I think it's still winter there. But you tend to adapt to wherever your surroundings are. And the same goes for if you live in the mountains. It can get cold there. Town where I lived was in a valley. And so when the pressure was high, real high pressure, it pushed that cold down from the mountains into those valleys. And it'd be much colder down in the valley than it was up on the mountain. I can remember 3 times as I was growing up into young adulthood that it got 50 below zero. That might not have been the official temperature, but that's what everybody had and everybody said it was. When it's 50 below zero, if your car sits outside, it's not going to start unless it's plugged into a tank heater that keeps the water in the whole system warm, kind of percolates all night as it's plugged in. And if you do get it started, you start going, you better drive slow because the tires are going to be frozen and the flat part that sits on the ground is not going to round out for a while and you'll bump down the road. I remember only one time our school was ever closed because of the weather, and it really wasn't because of the weather. We never had snow days because it snowed a foot or two, or even because it was cold. But one time the boiler at the school broke and it was one of those 50 below days, and so they canceled school. I thought that was so cool. You would see it in the city. They would cancel school and you'd hear about it, read about it, but never experienced it. I want to go outside and play. I remember I went down to my friend Keith's house and played at his house. Not outside. We bowled with these little plastic pins and plastic bowling ball in his basement. But that's what we did on my one school closed day. There used to be so much snow when I was a kid. We'd jump off my garage roof, my brothers and I, into the snow. As I got older, I thought maybe that was an imagination because you just don't get that much snow anymore. But this year, I believe they had snow like that again. Everything cycles. Cold, moisture, all that cycles. So we'd jump off the roof into the snow. Some of my favorite things to do during the winter when I was a boy was one of the things was ski juring or sled juring. And what that was is my dad would take us up on the airport road or up on the barn road, which was just the next road to the north where our barn was, and tie a rope to the bumper and pull us behind it, either on skis or on a sled. And skis, it was precarious because you thought you're going to just crash, and it was fun. But the sled, you would just plow into the snow on the sides of the road, and all you had to do was hang on for dear life, and it was so much fun. We'd come home just an icicle. We were just literally, our pants were frozen, our faces were frozen, our hair was frozen, snot was running down our lip. It was a good time. Come inside and take off all those frozen clothes and sit by the furnace, watch TV. Skiing was a big thing, and it still is up there. When I was little, I remember I was probably 6, 7 years old. Every town had a ski area because there are hills everywhere. And they all had rope tows. And I remember once I learned how to ski, negotiating that rope tow. The first time I remember that rope was run along the ground, and this big old rope, and it was going fast, and the machinery was making this whirring noise, and what you had to do is you had to get your mittens like underneath that rope and then grab on and try not to fall as it started pulling you up the hill. And if you fell, I guess you could let go or get drug up the hill. I think it was more high adventure than the old T-bars later on. T-bars were a big adventure though, believe me. But every town had them, and I learned to ski right there in the town I was raised. But we would go up 10 miles to this town that all the kids jumped. I mean, there was a ski jump, and they had a rope tow, and it always seemed like they were a little more advanced than us. Maybe it's because the jumping. As I got older, went to bigger ski areas, and then finally the major ski area there. It was fun skiing when I was a kid. The way I remember skiing is you didn't really take lessons and all that. You just kind of raced your buddies to the bottom. See, it was always a race. As I got older, I continued just to get to the top and race you to the bottom. So consequently, I was not a very good skier, but I was fast. I'd go just as fast as I could. I'd get in a tuck and just go as fast as I could. Then I'd have a great wipeout. It was a great wipeout. It had skis and poles and goggles that go everywhere, and I'd put myself back together, and hopefully my race companion would wipe out too, and maybe I could beat him. Do you remember the agony of defeat? Well, that's what it was like. After I met the girl I was going to marry, she was a ski instructor at the major ski area, and she liked to ski. And so we went skiing. She talked me into going skiing. And by that time, I really kind of lost interest in skiing. I was getting tired of crashing and burning. But I went skiing with her, and she couldn't believe it. And I remember I wiped out one time, and she couldn't find me. And I watched her. I saw her, and she was skiing back and forth on this one run. We were bobbing her head all around looking for me. And I think that's the first time I really thought that I really liked her. She was trying to rescue me. She finally found me and helped put me all back together. I guess if I would have learned how to ski the right way, I probably had more fun, but it sure wouldn't have been as exhilarating. One of my favorite winter events was sledding. We lived on a hill and could overlook the whole town. And I could start with these sleds that had the metal runners and wood frame, and you lay down on it on your stomach, and you could turn it and start out in our driveway. And when you left the driveway, you negotiated the right, and you'd have just enough hump to get to the crest of the hill, and go down a bit of a hill, and then you negotiate a left turn to go down a bigger hill. And so if you could negotiate that left turn, you could maybe go 3 blocks to Main Street, because you'd really get cooking down that hill. My mom was always worried that someone would run over us at one of the intersections. And in fact, she would get quite worried about that, standing at an intersection and stuff like that. I never thought anything of it. Nobody was ever on the roads. That was back in the days before the roads were paved. They were just a sheet of ice, and you could definitely go fast. We used to ice skate. They'd flood the baseball field, and I remember always watching them flood it. And then we'd skate and get out there. You could sit under a street light, skate way into the night. I did play hockey for 1 year, and we went and had a game at the ski area. Had a ice skating rink there at the foot of the mountain back then, and played hockey against kids from another valley up the road. And I was the center, I believe the position was. And when we faced off, I faced off against this kid, and he just cleaned my clock. He was just so good and so aggressive. And I remember trying to guard him, and him guarded me, and I was worn out at the end of the game. Turned out years later, when those kids came to the junior high school in town, that kid ended up being our high school quarterback, and he was a good quarterback and became a pretty good friend. His name is Billy. Billy's a good man. Heck of a hockey player, but a better football player. It was fun. I loved winter there when I was a kid. That country was custom made for kids. I don't know if it is anymore. I'm sure it gets in the way of your Game Boys and all that. But when I was a kid, I don't think there could have been a better place to grow up, winter or summer. Now for a segment we call the Top 10 Songs 55 Years Ago. That's the top 10 of this week in 1964. Starting at number 10 is Dead Man's Curve, Jan and Dean. Number 9, My Guy, Mary Wells. Number 8, Don't Let the Rain Come Down, The Crooked Little Man, by the Serendipity Singers. Number 7, Bits and Pieces, the Dave Clark 5. Number 6, Glad All Over, the Dave Clark 5. Number 5, Suspicion, Terry Stafford. Number 4, by Louis Armstrong, Hello Dolly. Number 3, Do You Want to Know a Secret, The Beatles. Number 2, Twist and Shout, The Beatles. Number 1, for the 4th week in a row, and again a clean sweep of the top 3, The Beatles and Can't Buy Me Love. I love those. Doing the top 10 55 years ago. I'm no Casey Kasem, but I'll do it anyway. One thing I want to leave you with today is you'll most definitely, probably, have an opportunity to be angry this week. That's okay. Just remember to be kind. My time is over. I will be back next Wednesday.